There is a submarine in the United States Navy that does not officially exist in any operational capacity. It has no public deployment schedule. Its missions are never announced. Its crew does not discuss where they have been or what they have done. When it returns to port, there is no homecoming ceremony. There are no photographs. There is only silence. The USS Jimmy Carter, SSN 23, the last of the Seawolf class, the most classified submarine in the American fleet. And during Operation Epic Fury, the Jimmy Carter was somewhere in the waters near Iran, doing something that the United States Navy will not discuss for decades. This is the story of what we know, and what we can deduce about the Jimmy Carter's secret mission during Operation Epic Fury. This is Naval Depth. To understand the Jimmy Carter, you first need to understand the Seawolf class. The Seawolf was designed during the Cold War as the ultimate submarine hunter, a boat built specifically to find and destroy the most advanced Soviet submarines in the deep waters of the Arctic. The Seawolf class was conceived in the 1980s when the Soviet Union was building the Akula-class attack submarine, which represented a significant leap in Soviet submarine quieting technology. The United States needed a submarine that could detect, track, and kill the Akula in the acoustically challenging conditions of the deep ocean. The result was the most capable, most expensive, and most classified submarine ever built. The Seawolf displaces approximately 9,100 tons submerged, significantly larger than the Los Angeles class it was designed to supplement. She is powered by a General Electric S-6W nuclear reactor that is quieter and more powerful than the reactors in earlier submarine classes. She carries 8 torpedo tubes, compared to 4 on the Los Angeles class, and can carry up to 50 weapons, including Mark 48 torpedoes, Harpoon anti-ship missiles, and Tomahawk cruise missiles. The Seawolf is faster, deeper diving, and quieter than any other submarine in the world. Her maximum speed and maximum diving depth remain classified, but they are publicly estimated to exceed 35 knots and approximately 490 meters respectively, both significantly greater than the Los Angeles and Virginia classes. Only 3 Seawolf-class submarines were built. The program was cut short after the Cold War ended because the submarines were extraordinarily expensive, approximately $3.5 billion each in 2026 dollars. The Navy determined that the less expensive Virginia class could perform most missions adequately, and the Seawolf production line was shut down. But the third Seawolf, the Jimmy Carter, was different from her 2 sisters. She was modified during construction with an additional section of hull approximately 100 feet long. This section, known as the multi-mission platform, gives the Jimmy Carter capabilities that no other submarine in any Navy possesses. The exact capabilities of the multi-mission platform are classified. What is publicly known is that the section can accommodate specialized equipment and personnel for intelligence gathering, special operations, and undersea warfare missions that cannot be performed by standard submarines. What intelligence analysts and defense journalists have deduced through a combination of publicly available information, defense budget documents, and occasional official acknowledgments is considerably more specific. The Jimmy Carter is believed to be capable of tapping undersea fiber optic cables. Fiber optic cables carry the vast majority of international communications. Telephone, internet, and military data all flow through cables laid on the ocean floor. The ability to access these cables and intercept the data flowing through them would represent an intelligence capability of incalculable value. The United States has a long and classified history of undersea cable tapping. The most famous example, Operation Ivy Bells, was conducted during the Cold War. In the early 1970s, the USS Halibut, a specially modified submarine, placed a recording device on a Soviet military communication cable in the Sea of Okhotsk. The device recorded Soviet naval communications for months before being retrieved by another submarine. The intelligence gathered was reportedly some of the most valuable of the entire Cold War. Operation Ivy Bells was eventually compromised by a spy, Ronald Pelton, an NSA analyst who sold details of the operation to the Soviet Union. But the concept survived and evolved. The USS Parche, a modified Sturgeon-class submarine, continued undersea cable operations throughout the 1980s and 1990s. The Parche received more presidential unit citations than any other ship in the Navy's history, a testament to the value of her classified missions. The Jimmy Carter is the Parche's successor. She was specifically designed to carry the next generation of undersea cable tapping technology. The multi-mission platform provides space for the equipment needed to access modern fiber optic cables, which is significantly more complex than tapping the copper cables of the Cold War era. Fiber optic cables transmit data as pulses of light through glass fibers. Intercepting this data requires bending the fiber to leak a small percentage of the light into a recording device, a technique that is extraordinarily delicate but technically feasible. The Persian Gulf is crisscrossed with undersea fiber optic cables. The Flag Cable System, the Gulf Bridge International Cable, and the Iran-Oman UAE cable all carry data through waters accessible to a submarine. Iranian military communications that are routed through these cables, even if encrypted, provide valuable intelligence about traffic patterns, communication volumes, and network architecture. The Jimmy Carter is believed to carry remotely operated underwater vehicles, unmanned submarines that can be deployed from the multi-mission platform to perform tasks at depths and in locations where manned operations would be too dangerous. These ROVs could be used for mine detection, underwater surveillance, or the placement and retrieval of sensors on the ocean floor. The ROV capability is particularly relevant to the Persian Gulf environment. The Gulf is shallow, averaging 50 meters, and its floor is littered with infrastructure, oil pipelines, communication cables, discarded equipment, and natural obstacles. An ROV can navigate this environment more safely and more precisely than a full-sized submarine, placing sensors exactly where they are needed and retrieving them when their mission is complete. The Jimmy Carter is believed to be capable of deploying and retrieving Navy SEAL teams and other special operations forces. The multi-mission platform can accommodate a dry deck shelter, a chamber attached to the submarine's hull from which SEALs can exit and enter the submarine while it remains submerged. This SEAL deployment capability is significant in the context of Operation Epic Fury. While there has been no public acknowledgement of special operations forces conducting missions inside Iran during the operation, the precision of certain strikes, particularly against mobile targets and time-sensitive targets, is consistent with the use of on-the-ground intelligence provided by special operations teams. SEAL teams deployed from a submarine can conduct a range of missions: reconnaissance of coastal installations, placement of laser designators to guide precision-guided munitions, sabotage of critical infrastructure, and capture of high-value intelligence materials. A submarine-deployed SEAL team can infiltrate a coastline undetected, perform its mission, and be extracted by the submarine without any surface vessel or aircraft approaching the coast. The Persian Gulf coast of Iran is dotted with military installations, naval bases, missile batteries, radar stations, communication nodes. Many of these installations are near the coast and accessible from the sea. A SEAL team deployed from a submarine could observe these installations at close range, providing real-time intelligence that supplements satellite and aircraft surveillance. Whether SEAL teams were actually deployed from the Jimmy Carter during Operation Epic Fury is unknown. The Navy does not discuss special operations. But the capability existed, the submarine was likely in theater, and the intelligence demonstrated during the operation is consistent with close-range human collection. And the Jimmy Carter is believed to carry the most advanced electronic intelligence gathering equipment in the submarine fleet, equipment that can intercept, record, and analyze electronic emissions from adversary military systems at close range while remaining undetected. Now let us discuss what the Jimmy Carter may have done during Operation Epic Fury. The Jimmy Carter's home port is Naval Base Kitsap in Bangor, Washington. Her movements are not publicly tracked. Unlike other Navy ships, the Jimmy Carter does not appear in commercial ship tracking databases, and the Navy does not announce her departures or arrivals. She simply disappears and reappears. And open-source intelligence analysis based on satellite imagery of Naval Base Kitsap and observations by civilian maritime enthusiasts suggests that the Jimmy Carter departed her home port approximately 6 weeks before Operation Epic Fury began. Her destination was not announced. Her mission was not disclosed. What we know is that during Operation Epic Fury, American forces demonstrated an extraordinary level of intelligence about Iranian military systems, intelligence that went beyond what satellites, aircraft, and conventional surveillance could provide. Specific examples include the precise frequencies and operating parameters of Iranian radar systems, which allowed Growler jammers to defeat them within minutes. The exact acoustic signatures of Iranian submarines, which allowed American ASW forces to find them within hours. The communication encryption protocols used by Iranian naval headquarters, which American cyber forces broke to intercept operational orders. Some of this intelligence was undoubtedly collected by satellites, aircraft, and other conventional means over years of surveillance. But some of it suggests close-range collection, the kind of intelligence that can only be gathered by a platform operating very near the target for extended periods without being detected. A submarine operating in the Persian Gulf or the Gulf of Oman, sitting quietly on the bottom, recording electronic emissions, intercepting communications, and monitoring military exercises, could provide exactly this kind of intelligence. A submarine with the Jimmy Carter's specialized equipment could do things that no other platform could match. Consider one specific intelligence requirement. Before Operation Epic Fury, American planners needed to know the exact operating frequencies and signal characteristics of Iran's Bavar 373 air defense system. The Bavar 373 is an Iranian-developed system that had never been sold to any other country. Its specifications were not publicly available. Its radar frequencies were not in any Western database. Without knowing these parameters, American electronic warfare systems could not be programmed to jam the Bavar 373 effectively. The conventional way to obtain this information is to provoke the Bavar 373 into activating its radar, by flying aircraft near it, for example, and then recording the radar emissions with signals intelligence aircraft. But this approach risks alerting Iran that the United States is collecting intelligence against the Bavar 373, potentially causing Iran to change its operating procedures. The unconventional way, the Jimmy Carter way, is to position a submarine within range of the Bavar 373 radar and passively record its emissions during routine training exercises, when the operators do not know they are being monitored. This provides clean, uncontaminated data about how the system actually operates, not how it operates when the operators know they are being watched. This is one possible mission. There are others. The Jimmy Carter may have been involved in tapping Iranian military fiber optic cables in the Persian Gulf. Iran's military communication network uses a combination of radio, satellite, and fiber optic links. The fiber optic links, both overland and undersea, carry the most sensitive military traffic because fiber optic cables are generally considered immune to interception. They are not immune to interception by the Jimmy Carter. If the Jimmy Carter successfully tapped Iranian military fiber optic cables in the weeks before Operation Epic Fury, American intelligence would have had access to the most sensitive Iranian military communications, operational plans, deployment orders, intelligence assessments, and command directives. This could explain the uncanny precision of the American attack, the way American forces seemed to know exactly where every Iranian ship was, exactly what orders had been given, and exactly how Iran's command structure would respond. The Jimmy Carter may also have been involved in deploying undersea sensors, acoustic monitoring devices placed on the ocean floor to track submarine movements. If these sensors were deployed in the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman before the operation, they could have provided real-time tracking data on Iran's Kilo submarines from the moment the operation began, explaining how the Kilos were found and destroyed so quickly. We cannot confirm any of these missions. The Jimmy Carter's operations during Operation Epic Fury will remain classified for years, possibly decades. The Navy does not discuss the Jimmy Carter's missions. The crew does not discuss the Jimmy Carter's missions. The intelligence community does not discuss the Jimmy Carter's missions. But the circumstantial evidence is compelling. The level of intelligence that American forces demonstrated during Operation Epic Fury, the precise knowledge of Iranian systems, the real-time tracking of Iranian assets, the ability to predict Iranian responses before they happened, is consistent with the kind of close-range intelligence collection that the Jimmy Carter is designed to perform. There is a broader lesson here that applies to the strategic competition between the United States and China. China knows about the Jimmy Carter. Chinese intelligence analysts have studied every publicly available detail about the submarine, her capabilities, and her potential missions. China knows that the Jimmy Carter, or a future submarine with similar capabilities, could be operating in the South China Sea right now, collecting intelligence on Chinese military systems, tapping Chinese undersea cables, and deploying sensors that track Chinese submarine movements. The South China Sea is even more cable-dense than the Persian Gulf. More than a dozen major undersea fiber optic cables cross the South China Sea, connecting China to Southeast Asia, to Australia, and to the global Internet. These cables carry Chinese military communications, Chinese financial transactions, Chinese government data, and the private communications of 1.4 billion Chinese citizens. China has taken steps to protect its undersea infrastructure. The PLA Navy patrols cable routes. Chinese government ships conduct regular surveys of the seabed near cable landing points. China has invested in domestic satellite communication systems as a backup to undersea cables. But none of these measures can detect a Seawolf-class submarine operating at depth, moving slowly, and making no noise. The implications for Chinese military planning are profound. If American submarines have been tapping Chinese military cables, and the success of Operation Ivy Bells and its successors suggests that this is not only possible, but likely, then American intelligence may have access to Chinese military communications that Chinese planners believe are secure. Operational plans for a Taiwan invasion, force deployment schedules, weapon system specifications, leadership communications about strategic intent. China has invested heavily in encrypted communications. But encryption is not a perfect defense. Even if the content of messages cannot be read, the metadata, who is communicating with whom, how often, and in what volume, provides valuable intelligence. A sudden increase in communication volume between the Eastern Theater Command and PLA Navy Headquarters, for example, could indicate preparations for military action, even if the specific content of the messages is encrypted. The Jimmy Carter's intelligence-gathering capability represents a form of strategic advantage that operates below the threshold of visibility. It does not appear in force structure comparisons. It does not appear in weapons counts. It does not appear in fleet size comparisons. But it may be more strategically significant than any aircraft carrier or missile system, because the intelligence it provides shapes every decision the United States makes about China. China cannot find the Jimmy Carter. The Seawolf class is the quietest submarine ever built. Chinese anti-submarine warfare is, as we have discussed in previous videos, the weakest component of Chinese naval capability. If China cannot find a Los Angeles-class submarine, which is 20 decibels louder than a Seawolf, China certainly cannot find the Jimmy Carter. This means that Chinese military planners must operate under the assumption that everything they do at sea is being observed, recorded, and analyzed by an American submarine they cannot detect. Every exercise they conduct, every missile they test, every communication they transmit could be intercepted by a platform sitting silently beneath the waves. This assumption, the assumption of constant surveillance, affects Chinese military planning in ways that are difficult to quantify but impossible to ignore. It forces China to assume that its secrets are not secret. It forces China to plan for the possibility that American forces will know their operational plans before the first shot is fired. It forces China to accept that there may be an invisible American presence in the most sensitive waters near China's coast, watching, listening, recording, and that there is nothing China can do about it. The Jimmy Carter is one submarine, one crew, one mission at a time. But the capability she represents, the ability to operate undetected in an adversary's most sensitive waters, collecting intelligence that shapes the outcome of wars before they begin, is one of the most valuable strategic assets the United States possesses. She was there during Operation Epic Fury. We know she was there because the intelligence was too precise, too detailed, and too timely to have come from any other source. We cannot prove it, but we know it, and so does Beijing. This is Naval Depth. Subscribe and stay with us as this story continues. There is one final detail worth noting. The USS Jimmy Carter carries a unique marking on her sail, a Jolly Roger flag that is traditionally flown by submarines returning from a successful combat patrol. This tradition dates back to World War I, when British submarines flew the Skull and Crossbones to signal a successful mission. The Jimmy Carter has flown the Jolly Roger more times than any other submarine in the current fleet. Each time she returns to Bangor, the flag appears. Each time, the Navy declines to explain what mission the flag commemorates. After what would have been approximately the time frame of a return transit from the Persian Gulf, the Jimmy Carter was observed at Naval Base Kitsap in late April 2026. She was flying the Jolly Roger. The Navy, as always, declined to comment, but the flag told a story that will not be declassified for decades. A story about a submarine that went where no other platform could go, saw what no other sensor could see, and delivered intelligence that shaped the most devastating military operation since the invasion of Iraq. The Jimmy Carter was there. The Jolly Roger confirms it. And the rest, the details, the missions, the secrets gathered in the dark waters of the Persian Gulf, will remain where the Jimmy Carter operates best, in the silence, in the deep, in the dark.